I was 3 weeks into unemployment and on the brink of calling my parents to ask for help when the ad showed up in my inbox. House sitter needed for one night only. Must stay on property overnight. Payment $50,000. No questions asked. I thought it was spam, the kind of clickbait scam you see on the darker corners of Craigslist. But curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked. The listing was sparse. Just a contact number, a location, an upscale neighborhood in Crestwood Hills, and the promise that payment would be delivered in cash upon completion. I stared at it for a while, trying to decide if this was a joke or some elaborate trap. But I'd been desperate for weeks. The bills were piling up. So I called. A woman answered. Her voice was calm, polite, almost too polite. She introduced herself as Ms. Varela and spoke in a clipped accent I couldn't place. The house is in my family, she said. You'll have everything you need for the night. You'll arrive at 6 p.m. sharp and leave no earlier than 6 a.m. That's it? I asked. I just stay there. Correct, but there are rules. My skin prickled. What kind of rules? No entering the basement, no inviting guests, and above all, do not, under any circumstances, speak to the thing if it speaks to you. There was silence on the line after that. I waited for her to laugh or say she was kidding. She didn't. If you follow the rules, she added, you'll be paid in full. Break them and, well, I suggest you don't. She gave me the address, told me there would be a key under the doormat. The final instruction: do not call the police, no matter what happens. Click. I should have ignored it. I should have blocked the number, deleted the message, gone back to scrolling job boards. But I didn't. At 5:40 p.m. the next evening, I was parked in front of a 3-story colonial house, shrouded in trees and the thick hush of late autumn. Everything about it looked normal. Clean porch, freshly trimmed hedges, a security camera above the door. But something about the house felt wrong, like it was holding its breath. The air had that dense, charged feeling you get before a thunderstorm. I checked under the mat. The key was there. I let myself in. Inside, the place was surprisingly modern. Hardwood floors, expensive furniture, soft lighting, and not a speck of dust. On the entryway table sat a white envelope. My name was written on the front in perfect cursive. Inside was a note, handwritten, "Welcome. The house is yours for the night. Please remember the rules. There's food in the fridge, lights in every room, and a guest bedroom upstairs. Do not open the basement door. Do not respond to it. It is not human, no matter how much it may seem like it is. Thank you for your service." Beneath the note was a small, leather-bound journal with just one sentence written inside. "It lies best when it tells the truth." That was the moment I should have left, but I didn't. And by the time I finally understood what lived beneath that house, it was already far too late. I spent the first few hours trying to convince myself that I'd just stumbled into the world's most lucrative babysitting gig. No signs of danger, no blood on the walls, no chains. Just a beautiful, overly quiet house and the occasional creak of old floorboards settling. By 9:45 p.m., I'd made a sandwich, raided the pantry for chips, and even watched half a movie in the guest bedroom. It was almost easy to believe the basement warning was just a psychological test, some kind of trust experiment for eccentric rich people. Then, at exactly 10:07 p.m., I heard the first sound, a soft knock. It wasn't the front door or the back door. It was lower. I muted the TV, leaned forward. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow raps from somewhere beneath the floorboards, then silence. I waited. Knock, knock, knock. It was unmistakable this time. Coming from beneath the floor, the basement. I stood up too fast, my half-eaten sandwich falling onto the rug. My chest felt hollow. I tiptoed out into the hallway and down the stairs, stopping halfway when I saw it. The basement door, plain and white with a brass knob, closed tight. The knocking stopped. I stared at it for a long time, trying to rationalize. Maybe it was plumbing. Or animals. Pipes can knock, right? Then I heard the whisper. Hello? It was faint, barely audible. But I know what I heard. Is someone there? It sounded like a child. My breath caught. Every hair on my arm stood up. I backed away, step by step, until I was safely in the kitchen. My fingers itched to call someone, anyone. But the woman's voice rang in my head like a warning bell. Do not call the police. Do not speak to it. It is not human. I checked my phone. No service. I wanted to leave. I considered grabbing my keys and driving straight to a motel. But $50,000. One night, I told myself to grow up. It was probably a recording or someone trying to scare me. This kind of money doesn't come without strings, right? I decided to wait it out. I turned on every light in the house, shut all the doors, sat on the couch facing the hallway, flashlight in one hand and a kitchen knife in the other. At 11:12 p.m. the voice came again. Please, I'm cold. It was louder now, a little clearer, and definitely not a recording. Can you let me out? It's dark down here. My stomach turned. It sounded like a little girl this time. But wrong. There was a weight behind the words. Something too smooth, like it was trying to mimic emotion instead of feeling it. I won't hurt you, I promise. It paused. I'm scared too. I whispered to myself, You're not real. You're not real. Then something slid under the basement door with a soft shh sound. I crept closer and stared at the floor. It was a piece of paper. I picked it up. In crooked, childish handwriting, it said, You don't have to die here. My hand was shaking. And behind the door, something scraped across the concrete, like nails dragging slowly across the floor. Then it whispered again, barely audible now, like it was grinning. But most do. I dropped the note like it burned my skin. You don't have to die here. The words kept echoing in my head as I backed away from the basement door. I tried to tell myself this was some elaborate joke, some test to see how far I'd go for money. But no prank, no actor, no hidden speaker system could mimic the voice I heard, or the sound of flesh sliding across concrete. I went back to the guest room and locked the door. Then I pushed the dresser in front of it, just in case. That should have made me feel safer. It didn't. Because as I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, with every light on in the house, I began to realize something. The house wasn't quiet anymore. It was breathing. Not literally, but in the way the air shifted. The way the floor creaked, not from age, but from weight. As if something was moving beneath the floorboards, pacing, waiting. Around midnight, I heard the knob on the basement door rattle. Once, then again. Software careful, testing. Then came the voice, now clearer, no longer whispering. You locked the wrong door. I sat up straight in bed, heart hammering against my ribs. You think the walls will keep me in? It continued. They only work as long as you follow the rules. I couldn't move. But you touched the paper. You heard my voice. That's enough. It paused. That means we're connected now. I started whispering to myself like a prayer, over and over. I'm not talking to it. I didn't answer it. I didn't answer. And I hadn't, not yet. But something inside me, a deep, ancient part, was starting to want to. Not out of kindness, not out of fear, but something like curiosity. Like the house was putting a pressure on my mind. That's when I noticed the hallway light outside the bedroom flicker. Once, twice, then go dark. And something moved past the gap beneath the door. Not feet, not footsteps. It crawled. I held my breath. Then came the scratching. A slow, dragging sound, like fingernails down the wooden door. Then, right behind the wood, a voice that didn't belong to a child anymore. It sounded older, smarter, hungrier. I can see you. You smell like fear. I didn't respond. I pulled the covers up to my neck like a child, knife in one hand, flashlight in the other. And then silence. Until tap, tap, tap. I turned my head slowly toward the closet. The door was cracked open. I was certain I'd closed it earlier. Something tapped again from inside. 3 slow knocks from the inside of the closet door. I sat frozen, barely breathing. You really shouldn't have touched the note, it said again, but now it was inside the room. They never listen. I stared at the closet door, unmoving. My breath came in shallow, panicked gasps. The flashlight in my hand flickered once, just once. But that single flicker sent a jolt of fear through my chest like an electric shock. The closet door was still, but I wasn't convinced it was empty. The voice, if it could still be called that, had spoken from inside. Not the hallway, not the vent, not the basement, the closet. Come see, it whispered again. It's not locked, just open it. It sounded calm. Too calm, like a predator that knows you're already cornered. I should have run. I should have screamed, leapt through the window, broken both legs, and dragged myself into the woods. Anything would have been smarter than what I did next, but I had to know. I needed to see what I was dealing with. I turned on the flashlight. I stepped off the bed. Each step toward the closet felt like walking into wet cement. I paused when I was a foot away, heart hammering so loudly I was sure the thing inside could hear it. You don't have to be afraid, it cooed. I just want to see you. I reached out. My hand shook uncontrollably as I touched the door. The wood was ice cold. I pushed. The door creaked open. The flashlight's beam pierced the dark interior. Dusty shelves, hanging clothes, storage boxes. Nothing. Empty. I scanned up and down. Nothing on the ground. Nothing on the shelves. Just a regular closet. And then I realized something awful. The voice had never said it was in the closet. Just that I should open it. It wanted me to look away from the room. I turned. The dresser in front of the bedroom door had been moved. Just a few inches. But enough. Enough to let something slip in. I staggered back, the flashlight shaking as I scanned the room. And that's when I saw it. Not directly, but in the mirror over the dresser. A figure. Crouched, just behind me. Crawling low, dragging its limbs like they were broken. Its face, what I could see of it, was pale, stretched, too long, like skin draped over a skull. And its eyes, jet black, reflective, smiling. I whipped around. Nothing. Gone. The mirror was empty, but on the wall, in thick black smears that hadn't been there before, a message had been written. You looked away. And from somewhere below the floorboards, deep in the basement, something started laughing. Not like a person, like a thing that had waited a very long time. The laughter didn't stop. It started in the floorboards but spread through the entire house, echoing faintly from the walls, vibrating in the vents, vibrating inside me, like the sound was being piped into my skull, bypassing my ears. I wanted to run, but where? Every window was shut. Every exit felt like it was miles away. And the message on the wall, "You looked away," was starting to drip. Thick black ooze ran down the paint like oil, pooling at the baseboard. The scent that hit me was foul, earthy and rotten, like a forest floor soaked in old blood. I stumbled out of the room and into the hallway, flashlight trembling in my hand. Every light I had turned on before was now off. The switches did nothing. It was as if the electricity had never been on to begin with. The house was pitch dark except for the weak cone of light in my hand and the faint glow from the basement door. A sickly yellow light was leaking from the cracks around the doorframe. I backed away. I didn't touch it. I didn't speak. I didn't do anything except look away. And yet, click, the basement door's lock disengaged. Slow, purposeful, creak, arc. The door opened on its own. It swung inward, revealing nothing but blackness. I stared, unable to move. My brain screamed run, but my legs betrayed me. That's when I realized the air had changed. It had weight now, pressure, like I'd just stepped underwater. And then I heard it again. That same childlike voice. "I told you not to look away." That was the last rule. The voice didn't come from below. It came from right behind me. I turned around slowly, feeling gravity shift like I was on the edge of a cliff. Nothing there. But my flashlight died, and from the open basement, I heard the sound of something beginning to crawl up the steps. Not walk, crawl, flesh dragging over wood, fingernails scratching each stair. I took a step back, then another. Then the voice said one more thing, calm, amused, almost tender. "There's no door anymore." I turned and saw the worst thing yet. The front door, gone. The hallway behind me, stretched into blackness like the walls had grown and warped. The house wasn't a house anymore. It was waking up, and it wanted me to go downstairs. I tried to fight it, tried to turn around and run, to scream, to claw at the walls, and find a crack back to the world outside, but the house wouldn't let me. Every door I reached was just more hallway. Every window I saw was painted black from the inside, and behind me, the basement door yawned wider, exhaling cold, damp air that smelled of earth and rot and something ancient. And then the voice, closer now, nearly behind my eyes, whispered again, "You're ready now." I wasn't, but the floor beneath me tilted just slightly, and I stumbled forward, down the first basement step. My flashlight flickered back to life, just long enough to show the walls narrowing, the stairs descending deeper than they should have. No light switches, just splinters and cold stone. Each step moaned under my weight. Halfway down, the air thickened, like I was breathing soup. I could feel something watching me from below, but not directly, from inside the walls, like it was behind everything. And then I heard it. Breathing, not mine, not human, something wet and wheezing in the dark below, like lungs full of brine. I reached the basement floor. It wasn't like any basement I'd ever seen. No boxes, no shelves, no furnace, just dirt. A massive open pit in the center, about 15 feet wide, surrounded by a ring of crooked bones and burnt wood. The flashlight picked out symbols scratched into the soil. Circles, runes, names, and in the center of it all, curled up like a sleeping dog, was a figure. Pale skin, no hair, arms twice as long as they should be, no visible mouth, just a slit where the face should have been. Its chest rose and fell with labored, rattling breaths. It hadn't seen me. Not yet. But the voice, now behind me again, spoke clearly. You brought the light. You brought your eyes. Now it can become. Speak to it. Set it free. I shook my head, whispering, No. No, no, no. You already did when you opened the closet. The thing in the pit stirred. Its head tilted up. The face slit, began to split. Not like a mouth opening, more like a wound tearing wider. Inside was nothing. Just blackness, endless, pulling at me. The flashlight shattered in my hand, and for a moment the basement was silent. Then it opened its arms and stood up. Its head scraped the rafters. It didn't have feet, just roots, dragging behind it like tendrils of muscle and bone. It took one step toward me, and another. I screamed, I ran, up the stairs. 2, 3, 4 at a time. Heart pounding, air gone, lungs screaming. I burst through the open doorway, slammed the basement door behind me. And it clicked. The light came back on. Everything was back to normal. The hallway, the couch, the lamp. Even the sandwich I dropped hours earlier still sat uneaten on the rug. The house was quiet. I backed away slowly. The basement door was closed again. Locked. Ordinary. On the floor behind me lay a black leather envelope. I picked it up, hands trembling. Inside, $50,000 in crisp, unmarked bills. And a note. You stayed the night. You followed the rules long enough. Payment accepted. Please do not apply again. Varela. I never told anyone. I moved apartments the next week. Threw out every piece of clothing I wore that night. Burned the shoes. Donated the money to a church. Then changed my phone number. But sometimes, late at night, I still dream about the pit. About the thing that waited for me in that basement. And sometimes, just before I wake up, I hear the floorboards creak and a voice whisper, Next time, don't look away. If this story sent chills down your spine, you're not alone. At No Sleep Tales, we bring you true-style horror that lingers long after the screen fades to black. Subscribe now and step into the shadows with us, where every story whispers, Don't look away. Like, share, and comment your thoughts below. Because sometimes the scariest tales are the ones we survive.